All right. Greetings to all you devils out there. Sam here with you on Friday, July 2nd. I'm very glad to be back with you. As some of you may know, I mentioned it last video when I was online a few weeks ago. I just went through a hip replacement surgery, which has been a difficult recovery, I will say. But I'm just starting to feel a bit better and able to at least work and do some content here. So I'm going to take a good long look at Bitcoin, some revised counts, and I think some clarity now showing up. Before we do that here, just I thought I'd mention this here. Some of you, it's not uncommon, right? Around these holidays, we'll do some promotions here. So we're having this July 4th promo, some discounts on the 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and yearly, and the associated discount codes here. So these will run. Now, we're actually giving this a good run. We're going to run this through the 9th of July. So you've got a full week to take advantage of this. So that gives you some options. So, for example, one of the things you might do, you could join us for free. That would give you access to the white belt, and you could kind of get started in there. And if you like the content and the style and the way we approach things, that might be a way to get a feel for it, confirm that you want to pursue it, and then take advantage of some of these discounts so you can get into the blue and purple and brown and black and get into some of the upper belts. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Additionally, some of you know that we have an indicator business as well. I'm over here now on TradeDevils-indicators.com, which you can get to from our main site. You'll see indicators up there to bring you over to the sister site here. We are also running a 20% discount here on all of our indicators and our tool suites here. You can buzz through some of these. This is NinjaTrader 8 only. It's really focused more on the futures markets and day traders. So if that's of interest to you, this is a nice way to take advantage of that. We also, as always, there's a 5-day trial on every indicator. Anything that you'd like to trial for 5 days is full working version. So you can choose whatever suits your style, assuming you're a NinjaTrader owner and would be interested in some of that. This has been a very successful launch for us. A lot of people having very good success with these tools. So if you need to be refreshed on any of those discount codes, I'm over here on our Twitter feed. You can just come over here and you'll see these if any of these are of interest to you. But just as a resource to come back, again, you've got a full 7 days to take advantage of these. All right, so with that, let's take a look at Bitcoin because I think we're finally getting some clarity. All right, let's do it. Okay, guys, I'm going to pick it up right here where we left off. Oh, shit, I guess it's been 2 weeks since I've been able to record a video. So here, and the only reason I'm here is just to reference the squeeze that we had been talking about here. Now we've come out of that squeeze. Fairly obvious to spot the divergence here off of the lower low here. Now we're going to look at some scenarios, both with this being a pivot low and where we'd go next, and then some. I think some of my primaries have changed a bit. So we'll look at a scenario that would get us out of here with this being our absolute low and then some more bearish scenarios. Ultimately, the bull cycle remains intact in my opinion, my view. But that said, I think we've got to face what's really starting to become quite obvious now as the market. The thing about Elliott is that eventually the count clears itself up. And all of our biases get pushed aside, and we have to deal with what we're staring at right in front of our face. And at this point, while I think we're going to look at there's no certainty in trading, right? There's no certainty in Elliott. We can start to put some pieces together here that resolve some of the issues we had dealing with some of the alternates that we've been exploring over the last really 6-7 weeks. And just deal with what's staring us right in the face. So, okay, with that said, right, so just again, squeeze indicator always really adds value to your analysis when you see that contraction here. So, with that said, let's move over to this, which I think now has become the most probable count. It's more bearish than I have been, but I think ultimately now this is the count that has revealed itself, and so this would be my primary. Now, for this, well, let's see. Let me say it this way: we've been struggling with this count in here throughout this, and one of the thoughts that we'd gone 1, 2, and this was 3. We're working on the 4, and while that still is possible here, the problem was always the 1, 2. Was such a problem? Was it here? Was it here? And then we had the ongoing problem of the length of the 2 relative to. Well, if I pull this off here. Relative to what was developing as the proposed 4. So we're trying to squeeze a 4 in here relative to this 2, and it just was not working. And now we add in the bearish market reaction to the China news, which is understandable, right? It's a bit of a surprise to the market, and we can see that reaction. But we're now, if we consider this the completed impulse, and now as deep as we've come here, all of a sudden this just becomes so bloody obvious that it's hard to understand why you didn't see it before. And of course that's bullish bias and hopium and everything else you might envision that would be influencing your thinking here, and certainly it's influenced mine. But as we sit here right now, this is so freaking obvious. It's hard for me to understand how it wasn't seen earlier. And again, that comes back to bias and what you are hoping to see. But as the market pushed lower and lower, and it was almost impossible to look at this as anything but a 5. Although I am going to show you a bullish case here, because I don't again, there is no certainty here, but this looks like the count that it fits the Elliott Wave principle most cleanly and clearly. So that would imply that we've got movement down here. We're going to be challenging, if this count plays out, we're going to be challenging the 17 high here at, what would we get, 18, 19. So even just looking at the median lines, if we come down to the lower parallel here, as we've now hovered around the median line, and looks like certainly the potential is there for this to drift lower, that would suggest that perhaps we're heading towards the lower parallel, and that would create this count that would resolve all of those time-related issues that we were looking at, and the distortion between 2 and 4. This, all of a sudden, it just looks like, oh, shit, come here. Looks like, how do we miss this? How is this not the most obvious thing? Now we're getting the, oh shit, I'm in logs, I can't pull that off, but the cleanest, clearest 5. I mean, it's just staring you in the face, right? The obvious, all of a sudden, it becomes the obvious. The swing relationships are perfectly valid here. So if that's going to hold as our 2 here. Now, we're not to the tick here, but we shot a little bit past the, here's our high probability window for the 3. Yeah, we got a little squirt past it, but now as the depth of this retracement, of course, now take it out of log scale, and it's much more dramatic. So I should emphasize that you got to do this analysis in log, but given the range, that would be the logical conclusion. This seems, it will be hard to argue against this count as we sit here. Now, remember, counts change all the time, and while this looks like the most probable path here, all it would take is for us to get up here and break some of this resistance here, and then you're going to rethink this and say, well, God be damned, right? Maybe something else is going on. But right now, it's hard to see this as anything but a 5. And we've looked at kind of trying to find a way to let this be the low. And again, while it still could be, this just cleans up so many of the problems that we were trying to rationalize, looking for this particular swing to carry on. So it seems to frame the count here just beautifully. We don't lose those upside targets here. I mean, here just the algo pull up here has us at 127, 128-ish for a target. So all of this consolidation, the China news, any potential government regulation, which we don't know where it's coming from now. That's always the wild card with Bitcoin, is how the market's going to respond to additional regulation. It's never questioned whether they're going to stop it. Bitcoin is unstoppable, in my view. There's, well, barring the extremes, power grids go out, nuclear war. If that's the case, Bitcoin's the least of our worries. But I do think this now looks quite clear and as the most likely path. So how do we deal with this? Well, certainly we can just tee this up and say, all right, well, this seems like an awfully strong location here, just to use we just use the 38. You do it this way. You just between the 38 and the structure pivot high here. So if we're coming down into this range, now we're talking about 22 and then ultimately down to 19, which is I'm just using the highest closes rather than the highest pivot. Come down here for the 4. This is your, of course, we don't know, and nothing says that it must come down here, but if we get the opportunity to be a buyer here, I'm all in. All in. Every resource that I have available to me would be all in on that buy. So it doesn't mean that we must come down here, but if offered the opportunity down here in the 20-ish, we call it 20, 22 to 19, that's an all in for me. All right, so that's my view. Now let's dig into this a little bit and get some clarity, because there's some nuance in this count here, and there is nothing that guarantees that this proposed A wave here is complete, and we'll look at that alternate as well. So let's go over one here. Oh, is this what I want here? That is the man. Let's see. Oh, shit, is this the one I want? Yeah, well, we can use this one because I've got a couple of scenarios here as to how we get here. This would be a bit more bearish, and this a member shared this with me. You can see he did it. I'm going to put it in candles here. So my thanks to Cyber Trader, who brought this to my attention. I like this as a possibility here. So from the pivot high here, let me get that tightened up. 1, 2, candidate for the 3. Now this gets tricky in here. Let's see, daily. Let's go to an 8 hour. I think we see it a little bit better. So here be the proposed 3. Certainly this looks impulsive when we get this big waterfall down here. So, well, you can count this a couple of different ways. I don't know that it really matters here. So we'd be coming into this via the A wave here. Now we go into an A triangle B. C, D, E into the B to give us our B here, and one shoot down for the C. So we get an A. Here's the B. Oh, I should take that up a degree. Come here. Here's the B. All right, and then you gotta make it. It's a skinny 1, 2 to get your C up here. But note, right, we go right to the golden zone. So this is B, C of the 4 relative to this 1. Let me finish it here. So here's our pivot high. So right into the golden zone. Now note that's golden zone from the top. If we go here, we break the golden zone. Remember, if you break a golden zone, I mean, you could look at this and say, okay, no closes, just a wick. But still, I would go back one and just say, well, how do I look here from the prior pivot? If it's going to, right, because remember, algo doesn't care about an Elliott count. It's just looking at the dominance. Where can I find something technical? That's to the tick technical. Now here, this is the more bearish scenario. Could we be done here? Now, is this enough to finish it? So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, maybe, right? We can't guarantee that this is either complete or incomplete, although we should get some resolution out of here relatively quickly. So if it's 1, 2, 3 sideways through all this complexity here, where we have a simple correction here, we have a very complex correction here. Now 1, certainly it's hard to see that as anything but a 3. Now if we're coming 3, 4, 5, well now we're coming down here, right? So this would be more bearish, and I think the less likely that we'd be coming down here, because the implication would be if we're coming down here for the A and then we're going to go B, that we'd be back down here pushing for a C, and now we're going into new lows here. We're breaking 20, 18, we're coming down into 14, 15, 16 for the 4 here relative to the ABC. And so you'd see here now we have the 50 from the apps from the 2 low here. So you can see how this could come, but I don't think it goes this low. That would surprise me. We're going down into the below 15. Certainly it's possible. Here's the 17 high at 19. So A into the B here into that golden zone. It's certainly a valid path, right? Still working, we're leaving us with the conclusion that we're still working through the A wave here. B's yet to come, so any bullishness that comes off of this. So you could see it would come down, hit that 17 high, find that structural support. There'll be a lot of buy interest there. Pop it up to the B. Everybody thinks we're out of the woods, and then it rolls over one more time for the C. We get the algo target here. Now we're in 14, 15. So while I would be buying aggressively in the 18, 19, 20, you know, you'd be sustaining some drawdown here. Again, I think this is less likely, but you can't eliminate it. It certainly makes sense. So you'd be sustaining some drawdown. As I was just suggesting, if I'm going all in up here at the 20K range here, this would be sustaining some drawdown. Again, I don't buy long-term holdings with leverage, so I'd ride it out, and I'd be looking to raise more capital to buy it down here. And just average down. Now, the other thought, right, that's my view. The other thought is put 60% of it in here, 60, 70, and leave some in reserves in case we get the opportunity to be a buyer down here under 15. That's going to require some changes in the macro picture for the market to be that bearish, but we can't eliminate it. So that's one scenario here that we are still to complete the A wave coming off of our 60K or 64K high. Still working through the corrective structure coming off of the 1, 2, right, seeking the 4. Now, the other thing to pay attention to here, since this seems inevitably to be an impulse here, we would have to pay attention to the 1 pivot high here. That puts us at 13, or call it 14. So if we were going to come down this low, we'd be getting kind of tight. That's where, shit, I'm going to have to rethink this as I'm saying it out loud. I might do 80% here and keep a little in reserve here just for that possibility where you could buy it just ahead of that 1 pivot. I have to evaluate how. Right, let's see what happens. We're not there yet. We're a long way from all of this being realized, but as I sit here looking at it, that certainly is valid. Certainly is valid. So if I go back, let's go back over here, and that'd be putting us down here. Could we stretch that low? Man, that makes for a big range there from 22 to 13. That's awfully big, so you'd have to ladder in along the way, and certainly this is going to be an area of interest. I might have just talked myself out of going all in here, maybe going 80% here and leaving 20 in reserve, just in case. Just in case. I'd be surprised if we broke the 50 here and broke the median line. That would surprise me, but then we'd be here at 15, 16. Really, I guess that's 16. AB, come down for the C. There's the 4 at the 50. Hard not to see that as a very viable path. All right, let me keep moving. I'm going to come over here. That's the one we just did. So let's come back here. Okay, I'll give you a bull count. I'm moving fast because I'm heavily medicated, and at the moment my hip is not giving me any pain, but I don't know, that could wear off at any minute. Now, having gone through all those very bearish scenarios, well, short-term bearish, right? Again, we're not losing the longer-term targets up here. We're just using the median lines. That's 140K. We're not losing the bullish impulse off of the low here, off of our 3K low. We're not losing that, but this is just implying a deeper correction. So now you look at that and say, okay, well, what if we rally from here? Okay, well, this would give us a scenario here that I wouldn't want to be without a bullish alternative here, because again, we go into the weekend, there's never any telling with Bitcoin, how it's going to respond over the weekend. If we start to rally here, well, there's a couple of things to note. One, this is technical, so coming off of the low here, looks like we got a little algo participation here, and we're not quite tick perfect to the golden zone. If I come down one here, looks like possibly a front run on the 50, but I wouldn't go to that until this golden zone breaks here. So here, okay, what if we rally from here? Well, then maybe you're looking at this saying, well, could this be the low? Right? Or pardon me, what I would be implying, this would be the A low. I still think we've got to go down and complete. But if we start to rally, then the B could be a little bit higher here. So we'd have finished the A down here. Oh, we're here at 28 on that when we broke 30, and then we were quickly rejected. This could certainly be, let me take that up a degree. This could certainly be our A wave. So we're down for the A, we're working on the B. If we start to rally here, then that scenario starts to make more sense. Now let me just walk you through this relatively quickly. This would be good exercise if you don't have a scenario here that has us making a strong pivot here and then heading higher. To get this to play, or for this to be a good low for us, we'd have to go A, B, and look into getting into a C down here. So A, B, C would give us a W here. You'd have to truncate the 5. So, I mean, I suppose you could do it this way. All right, you could do it this way. You'd have a very skinny 4 here. You'd have to do it this way, and then a very, very long 5. You could do it this way, but I think it plays better this way because this is just all wick and it rejects so quickly. I think this plays a little bit better. I get a better 1, nice clear 3 into the 2, waterfall into the 3, 4. Now we don't make it here, but I can see a clear 5 in this. So I'd be more inclined to label it this way and allow for the truncation, although I go there reluctantly. But that said, because this is a clean 5, I think you can finish here. And then now, again, this would be an alternate. We just looked at the scenario that would have this, because you could potentially see a triangle in there. But this would be the alternate. So coming from this W, then we'd go into a WXY to give us the X wave. So we've gone WXY into the X, and now at this point, this would get us into an A, going for the B, now finishing with a C to give us the Y, which would have us coming up short of some of those lower targets that we looked at. So while the 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 22-ish range certainly plays well. Let's come here. Certainly plays well with the structure and the framing of the market with regards to the geometry. That certainly plays well. Bitcoin has a way of surprising you, and what looks easy often is not so simple. So that's why you want to have multiple scenarios here. This would get us into the, again, if we rally here, and of course we could roll over into those bearish scenarios, become the path of least resistance. But if we pop here, it sure sets up the scenario here. We would have potential A, B, C to finish, and then that would put us, let me pull out here and put this in context here. So you can see here, here's the low here, and we come down, we popped it just barely here on that, off that China news. Now we're struggling to recover from that, and I've just drawn a channel from this structure high to this pivot low here, so I could get the mid-range here. This on the daily, this is an order block. But if we were to come down here, well, now you're looking at buying here in the 25-24 range. Here, I'm just taking the length of the A, using a B, and then saying, hey, well, could I get there? Could I get there? Where would the 100% be? We'd have, of course, potentially lower targets here, but that would give us this kind of what do I want here? This would give us this scenario here. We'd be coming from this is our B and coming down to this is our C to complete the correction here, which in the larger context would be completing the 4 potentially, and then we're off again. Again, this seems less likely because of the structure here now starting to really reveal itself and look quite solid. And the whole thing, all the pieces fit better here. So there you go. That's kind of a spin through the alternates that I'm looking at here. Again, right, it's always a snapshot in time. Right now, this looks the most probable, but a lot has to happen. And things can change fast in crypto. So if this is our low here and we're working on the B, great, right? Then you start to really lean into this. It's the trader's choice here as to whether if you got something technical here, like a golden zone here, whether you'd want to play the short there. Right, of course, there's never any certainty, because then you'd be back here saying, well, hey, whoa, wait a minute here. What if this is our low? Do I want to be shorting that? Well, you got to make that decision for yourself as we move through each swing. Ultimately, if you're taking those trades, it's just a matter of money management. If you were to take the short here based off of seeing the count the same way that I'm seeing it here, well, all right, you manage your risk and your reward. I mean, it's a pretty good risk reward there. If we're taking a short there, again, now we're not there. We don't have that pivot. But even if I just use the algo target here, and it's something, I wouldn't give that a whole lot of room. But if you could use the 786, right? That we know that's very common target for a B. So sell it at the golden zone, stop on the other side of 786, first algo target down here. Well, there's you get 3-to-1 there. If we're going to go down a little bit lower and challenge that 17 high, well, now you're at 3.6-to-1. Too much for you? You don't like that? Well, tighten the risk here, right? So maybe use the 707. What would that give us? 707. Let's use the 707, and that would put us just a little bit there. So now you get 4. Well, let's see, come down here. Now you're at 5.86-to-1. Right, allowing for the possibility that we might go up and pop that 786 and then roll over. So you'd have to take a loser and then reevaluate as to whether you want to go down with it. So you'd have the opportunity to sell into the 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, no certainty ever in trading. Right, just good money management. But that's all it takes. Right, but easier said than done. Easier said than done. So true with everything in trading. Right, very easy to lay this out and say, well, that's where it's most probably headed, but we just never know, right? You can't look for certainty in trading. You can't look for perfection. It's unattainable. What you focus on is money management. That's always the secret and the key to success. All of this is the puzzle. This is the fun part, putting the puzzle together. Money management, that's what professionals count on. All right, and that's what they focus on. So don't shy away from taking a trade, but just don't be stupid about the money management. All right, I think that covers us there. I think we covered the scenario here. If the low is in, we're going to rally. I still think it's an incomplete correction. This is the more bearish scenario here, as in the low is not in. We've got another 5 to complete. A, B, C coming back down, going in sub 20. And then we've got this one here, which I think has the best geometry, the best look, if we will. But again, we're incomplete. We don't know if the A's done yet. But if we come down here, boy, that's a place to be aggressive. All right, guys. Well, I'm glad to be back. I'm still a long way from fully recovered. But at least I can get through a video, so that's progress. I couldn't do that 2 days ago. So keep in mind, right, you guys know, you can always join us for free. Right? These kind of things that we're doing over here, that's you can always stair step in. I think we're going to run this for, oh, shit, I got to check here. My partner told me we're going to run this till the 9th. So we're going to run this for the 9th, till the 9th. So you've got time. So for example, you could come in through the free option, take a spin around the Discord, be sure you're comfortable with what we're doing. And then if you want to go into the belt system, here's a way to do it and take advantage of some discounting prices here. And then, of course, right, for any of you ninja traders, there's lots of action over here. All right, guys, so that I think we'll leave it there, and I'm going to leave this one up for you guys. So I'd encourage you to work out 3 scenarios here, one that would have the low in and we're heading higher, one that would have the A low in and we're heading into the B, and then one would have the A incomplete and we're still yet to start working our way up into the B. Right? Be prepared for anything, but keep your eye on the money management. All right, guys, have a good weekend. Members, I'll be back. We'll dig into alts on Monday. Okay, guys, take